Sam Harper. Well, James Brackley is from the University of Birmingham branch of University and College Union and joined us on the programme this morning. Hi, James.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. So can you just talk us through what your concerns are then about students returning to university?
Yeah, well, we don't think the university's plans are safe, essentially. We've been working with the universities all summer. Our health and safety representatives looking very closely at the plans. And what we're seeing, the student there talked about being in a bubble with their household. Well, we're seeing face-to-face teaching of up to 100 students mixing from cohort to cohort, staff and students moving from building to building through the day. We're seeing plans to clean lecture spaces and working areas once a day, which means 7 or 8 students might be sat at a desk before it's getting cleaned. We've got a long list of concerns: poor ventilation, concerns about use of face coverings and things like that. So the conclusion that we're coming to is particularly drawing on the US experience and what's happened over there when they opened their doors in August, is that it's almost inevitable, really, that there's going to be major outbreaks as a result of the mass migration of students around the country, and
Well,
particularly here in Birmingham. Yeah.
well, the University of Birmingham, and we'll hear their statement in a few moments, but they've described these comments from you and your union as a wholly inaccurate and deliberately misleading, and that safety is their top priority.
Yeah, I mean, we're used to getting quite aggressive sort of press releases from the university. I mean, our concern is staff and student safety right now, and our health and safety reps are saying it's not safe, and not just for the teaching situation, but also you look at student housing. Particularly Celio, you've got households, privately rented, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 students sharing, eating spaces, communal spaces, and so on. And we just don't think it's safe. And we think it particularly, it puts the community at risk. Once you've got an outbreak on campus with the students, the density of our population that we've got, that's very quickly going to become an outbreak in the community as well.
Well,
Um,
a private rented accommodation isn't down to the university, anyways. That's down to the individual. But the university have worked with the director of public health in the city, Dr. Justin Varney. So, if he's happy with the way they're doing things, then why aren't you?
well, we've seen the risk assessments. We'd like to speak to public health in the city, and we'd like to have a detailed conversation with them about precisely our concerns and the detail of our concerns. Because quite frankly, particularly looking at what's happened in the US, looking at all of the scientific advice, you look at the government scientific advisory group, Independent Sage, British Medical Journal, they're all saying that face-to-face teaching is not advised, it's extremely high risk, and we're creating a situation where there's going to be a second wave of coronavirus. And as your other commentators have described, this is a really dangerous moment. So we think this is a really reckless move by the whole sector, not just the University of Birmingham. And universities are being put in a position where effectively they're having to lie about being COVID safe because they need to secure the lucrative accommodation fees and the tuition fees that they need to survive. And we need them to put safety first.
Well, that's quite a strong allegation to say that they're doing that. So they say that safety is their top priority, and as I say, I'll read out their statement again shortly. So, what do you think? And we've got obviously a big university in Wolverhampton as well. What do you think universities concentrate on Birmingham for now? What should they do? Then, what would you like to see them? What would you like to see them change?
Well, the two immediate things is they need to stop making it compulsory for office workers who have been working remotely to come on campus physically. We need them to make teaching online available where possible. We've got experience of doing that over the summer. There's good pedagogic reasons actually for doing that as well, because right now you've got a face-to-face teaching where students are separated, they're all facing the front in face masks. It's not a good learning environment. We want them to agree with us that we should be moving online teaching for the autumn term to begin with. And we need them to, stop. They've got this idea at the University of Birmingham that they want to create a vibrant campus. which I can understand, but at this time, it's just not the right thing to be doing. It's not the right way to be approaching.
James, can I just say that there's that point about them sitting, all facing the front? Well, that's what's happening in schools as well. And I think the idea then is just to actually stop them looking at each other and talking to each other.
Yeah, we understand that, and we understand the need for that. But what we're saying is video conferencing technology that we use for online teaching across the board now. We're already designing online content for all of our modules. The teaching capacity to move online is there and it is available.
Well, the university are saying that they are doing that wherever they can. But for example, James, you can't. Some things you can't simply learn or do online. For example, if you need to be in a lab or something like that, you can't do that online. You can't do experiments like that online.
No, we accept that there's exceptions to that, and it's not saying that absolutely everything has to be online and we have to shut the campus down. We're saying that this should be the default position for most courses. And as I say, we've got 35,000 students. We're seeing lecture halls of up to 100 students in supposedly small group teaching. And we're going to have quite a busy campus. And just experience shows that this is going to spread the coronavirus and it's going to create an outbreak. And once we're in lockdown, that's then going to be a deeper and longer lockdown for everybody because of what's happening right now.
Finally, then, how much of this actually, and we heard from a student a few moments ago talking about like Freshers Week and so the social side of it, how much of this ultimately have we got to just trust the students to be responsible?
Well, I don't really like that argument, because I think what we're going to see is the government and people blaming students when there's an outbreak. And to be quite honest, I touched on the housing situation. We're making it inevitable that there is going to be an outbreak. It's not going to be reasonable to expect students not to socialise, not to mix with each other. They're being put in lecture groups with lots of different other groups of students. When there is an outbreak, you've just heard from the student that you had on air, most students are responsible. They want to follow the rules,
Yes.
but they're going to be put in a situation that isn't going to be safe.
Thanks for your time this morning. That's James Brackley from the University of Birmingham UCU. Now, we've been in touch with the University of Birmingham and Birmingham City University about this. Now, the University of Birmingham refute these allegations made by the unions and say they are, and I quote, are wholly inaccurate and deliberately misleading. They say the safety and well-being of their staff and students is their number one priority, and they've worked closely with the Director of Public Health for Birmingham in developing and implementing their plans for a safe, phased and pragmatic reopening of campus. And they add that all lectures will be delivered online, but with some labs and other practical sessions, as well as small group seminars taking place face-to-face where it is safe to do so. They've also introduced a blended approach to working, with staff spending some of their time on campus and the rest of their time working from home, where their role allows, while BCU says they respect the concerns of the UCU and its members and are confident that they can address their concerns, especially as staff return to campus and see the range of COVID secure measures in place, from visors and masks to signage and social distancing. And they say students and staff safety, along with that of the people of our city, is our absolute priority. And I mentioned University of Birmingham earlier, because obviously that, of Wolverhampton earlier, and after 8 this morning we'll be speaking to them about the approach that they're taking here. But if you have got kids or grandkids, or maybe you yourself are heading to university over the next few days, then do you feel safe? What do you think should be happening? Or maybe you're a lecturer. How do you feel? Are the union speaking for you? Are they reflecting your opinions and your feelings? Give me a call, 08081 00 9956.